Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. This is the morning market review. It's Monday the 31st. My name is Russell Shaw. I'm a senior market specialist at FXCM, and my email address rshaw@fxcm.com. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the disclaimers. Can I just double check that everybody can see the screen and hear me? Morning, Anna. Nice to have you in the webinar. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Excellent. Thanks, Shadrach. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and hope everyone had a really good weekend. I'm bringing up the market commentaries disclaimer. Today, unfortunately, is going to be a shorter webinar. I'm going to have to finish up at the top of the hour, but we'll try to get through as much as possible. Right, for our references, MarketScope, TradingView, Bloomberg, and Forex Factory. I'm going to just go as quickly as possible just because of the time constraint. So no real red factories. This is on Forex Factory. You can see that there is a CPR over here for Euro. What I did notice, the manufacturing data out of China is below 50, so there's contraction there. So that's something to take note of. I'm going to go through to the Bloomberg email, 5 things to start today. I'm not going to read all of the paragraphs. So I'll just go and sort of take out what I think is the most important. All right, so the first headline says 4 days, but just sort of jumping into the middle. On November 2nd, the Federal Reserve will announce its latest interest rate decision and give hints about its path forward. 2 days later, the October jobs report will provide an important look on how much hiring is slowing. We'll do a live trade on that, by the way, so I'll give you the links for that from tomorrow. On November 8th, the midterm elections may usher in a change in which party controls Congress. And finally, on November 10th, there's the consumer price index. So, and we want to look at the median there, right? All right, jumping through to the next headline, reality for Sunak. Rishi Sunak won an endorsement from financial markets in his first days as Prime Minister. His first full week in power may be more challenging. The new Premier's economic policy is set to face scrutiny as the Bank of England delivers what could be its biggest interest rate hike in more than 30 years. At the same time, UK business confidence has dropped its lowest level since March 2021, underscoring turmoil in the economy. Jumping through to the next headline, which says, reads as grain deal. Turkey, the United States, and others looked for ways to salvage the Ukrainian grain export initiative after Moscow said it would pull out indefinitely following an attack on its Black Sea naval fleet. Jumping to the next headline. Credit Suisse has invited at least 20 banks to join the syndicate for a 4 billion franc rights issue that should help the lender finance another multi-year restructuring program, according to people familiar with the plan. That's interesting. So it's effectively going to dilute the earnings per share, but I think they've got no choice. They need cash here. All right, coming up for this session, European stocks are set to rise in step with gains in Asia, and the US amid optimism over company results. OPEC unveils its 2022 world oil outlook. Nordic prime ministers meet in Helsinki. Expected data include Eurozone CPI and GDP. Okay, let's get on with some analysis. All right, so we're just taking a look at the real rate and the dollar, and this is on the daily basis. I'm going to take a look at the dollar first. Okay, so you take a look at the dollar here. This looks as if there is a trough. Okay, you can see it's got condition 1, which is effectively the lowest low in at least in the lowest low in a 3-candle cluster. And then what we actually need, all right, is dollar price. I beg your pardon. We need the dollar price to close above its high. But what I think we should do is actually make it a little bit more stringent to see if we can close above Friday's high. And if we do, then there is a possibility of a trough here. And if there's a trough, well, then of course there is the possibility for a swing. Now, this is very much going to be a function of what comes out of the Federal Reserve meeting, the Federal Reserve release on Wednesday. Take a look at the real rate here. So the real rate, potentially a condition 1, okay, but we don't have the condition 2, 3 here either. So neither the dollar nor the real rate confirming the trough at the moment. So that's going to that's how we're starting the week. Okay, starting the week without real strength in the US dollar, and if there's no real strength in the dollar, okay, then there must be perhaps a bias to dollar weakness, and it all depends on whether we get the trough locked in on these charts. Troughs need to lock in because that's going to, I think, be a key driver for the markets. That being the case, let's bring this chart up here. And where is this guy? The DAX. Just bringing up the DAX. Okay, so let's just put this into perspective, tie these together. There is no lock-in of a trough yet. If we get a lock-in of a trough, okay, I think that's going to hurt risk markets. We don't have that yet, all right? In fact, we've got sort of a swing heading this way, which should support present values. If that's the case, then maybe the DAX still has some legs here, maybe. So let's just see how we can assess that. We don't have an uptrend, that we can say for certain. We do have a downtrend because we've got a lower peak, lower trough, but we're in the midst of a very strong bounce here. Okay, this is on the weekly, very strong. Are we going to get a lower peak here or not? And if the real rate does lock in that trough, then I think we get that lower peak. If it doesn't lock in that trough, then I think there's potential for us to carry on moving up. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because we've got 4 weeks of strong blue candles and now some red. What does that mean? Potential dip in uptrend. Okay, potential dip in uptrend is something that may be exploitable. Let's go down to the daily. All right. So you've got a very strong movement here in zone 1, okay, on our dailies. And if you take a look at the Bollingers pushed apart. So there's the volatility expansion. Now it's playing catch up. So you can see that the bottom Bollingers now turned up. So that's healthy, right? That's what we want to see if there's going to be any momentum to take us even further. Well, momentum is what we use here is stochastic, and it is in this upper quintile. It's looking very strong, this momentum, very, very strong. Okay, so we've got 4 strong weeks, some red now, potential dip. Daily synchronized with the weekly. The real rate not moving adversely just yet. However, and this is the big deal, however, Wednesday can change all of this in a heartbeat. Okay, so it's a high risk week. Okay, high risk week. So now we go back down to, let's go down to our hourly, Is there any way we can potentially participate here? And of course, let's clean this up. Well, there is a 1, 2, okay, 2, 3. Okay, so that's encouraging. Now the question is, do we get another 1, 2? That I don't know. Okay, nobody knows that. We've got to get our signals. Okay, so we've got to, let's just bring everything together. We've got a strong week. We've got a strong daily. Are the short-term traders going to line up? Well, let's see if the EMAs cross, signal 1. Stochastic has to cross, signal 2. And then stochastic needs to move into the upper quintile and hold. It's quite close to that upper quintile. So we could get sort of an early signal here. If it hits the upper quintile and then folds, if it drops out, that's no good. Then we've lost the momentum, right? Then we should go back to the real rates and see if the real rates have started moving up. I suspect that would probably be the case. However, the idea here is signals first and then momentum. Do we get the momentum lock in? So what we can do here is keep an eye on the central pivot, which looks like a pretty decent support level. It looks like a pretty decent support level, right? Here's resistance. Okay. Resistance can turn into support. Okay. Resistance generally turns into support. So it does look as if there's a confluence of support on this central pivot. So that's something that we can certainly keep an eye on. I can't remember what this is called. There's it's a principle of, good grief, my mind's gone blank. It'll come to me. All right, let's take a look at euro, considering that the dollar hasn't locked in that lower, I beg it hasn't locked in that trough yet. It's not looking nearly as sort of bullish as the DAX. Look, the trend is down. If we go back to the DAX, we've got this really strong risk-on move, which is really sort of the theme that seems to be dominating Q4 until I think that weekly overbought condition effectively normalizes. Then we've got to go back to, is that median rolling over, that median inflation that we've spoken about previously? Yeah, so the DAX, just that weekly, 4 strong weeks. You go to the euro, not quite the same. What we can do is, let's see if we can get an idea of the sentiment. So what we're going to do is we're going to just combine the last 2 candlesticks, not counting this week, because this week's too early. So we're going to look at, let's bring in an arrow here. Okay, we're going to look at this one and this one, and we'll try to get some sort of sentiment reading. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw in the range. So the range, here's the high, here's the low. Okay, so this is the range over the 2 weeks. Okay. And here is the open, here is the close. All right, so let's put that in. Okay, so good, something like this. So this is the candle representing sentiment for the last 2 weeks. You know, that selling tail, the market really sort of was, I think, underwhelmed with the ECB, and that's what this That's what the selling tail is here. Let's go take a look at the daily. All right, so it's clinging on to zone 1. It's clinging on to zone 1, but it does look as if we've got a bit of a dip there. The momentum's not that strong. It's on 80. We needed to get above 80. And you can see that it's actually pushing down. So that's interesting. Okay, so euro showing weakness to start. It's at an important support as well. You can see the, let's get this out. You can see the confluence of support here over this S1 level. So the way I think the best way this plays out, and then we'll need to log off just because it's the top of the hour. The best way this would be is for S1 to hold on the euro. I think that would suggest, you know, money coming out of the dollar. Dollar's a safe haven. I think that then flows through to also a stronger DAX. So those are sort of the underlying sort of potential fundamentals at play. Let's see if the technicals line up with that. Just before I sign off, I apologize. Today's going to be just slightly shorter. Tomorrow we'll go back to the normal one. Any questions? Please go ahead and type those in. Any questions? All right, let us wrap up here, guys. Have a good day, good evening ahead, and we shall chat tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a full webinar. Thanks very much, guys.